Welcome to the Level Up Leader podcast, where we uncover the secrets behind the success of world-class leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Michael King, here to inspire you with stories of resilience, leadership, and the power of clear, empathetic communication. Today, we're thrilled to have Josephina Loza with us, the visionary founder of Lozafina, a dynamic leader and a champion of resilience and personal growth. Josefina's journey from a humble beginning to creating her own enterprise is a testament to the power of perseverance and self-belief. Josefina, it is so awesome to have you on the Level Up Leader podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate being invited to this. So thank you.
I know, right? So we connected a couple weeks back, and I'm in the middle of looking at just the vision of where life is heading for us, for my company, but also me as an executive coach. And so we have a couple books in the right, and I'm looking for a publicist and all that stuff. And so I reached out to you, and you were so kind. You were like, "Hey, let's grab lunch. Let's go ahead and connect." And 2 hours later, after downloading your story, I walked away going, people need to know who you are, and I need to figure out ways to partner with you in a greater way. So thanks for making time to be here. It's so great to connect with somebody like you.
Appreciate it. No, it's dynamic. And I think that we should always push pause and enjoy those moments when you start that friendly banter with somebody, and then it goes into a deeper level. And then all of a sudden, like 2 hours happens. But we don't allow ourselves sometimes that space to really open ourselves and go vulnerable like that. So when you have those moments, I encourage people all the time, like, take them, make them, because when it looks like only 5 minutes has passed and then you realize it's been 2 hours, there's something special that is happening. That's that synergy we look for. So if it's good in conversation, then you look at how other outputs and deliverables can be. So I appreciate your openness. And also getting into, my head. It's kind of a kooky little place to be. So
Absolutely. Well, I mean, when working with leaders, you kind of get used to navigating the mazes of creativity and working with different types of people. And now even just kind of talking about like the kookiness and the craziness per se of the mind of Lozafina, right? You've had some pretty exciting things over the last couple weeks. Do you want to kind of get us updated on what's been going on in your life?
absolutely. So I had at the top of this year launched the book release of Resilience in Words. And what that is it's a motivational planner and phenomenal journal. It's a system, really. And we'll go kind of backtrack a little bit in a few minutes about what brought me there. But we did the release. We started a podcast, are building out a community of people, of creative types, and really all types of people who want to just connect on a more human level when it comes to work-life balance or, powering through a difficult moment. And it's community that really drives us with Resilience in Words. I had also had a wonderful interaction with, some producers over at ABC Studios, and was able to be featured on the Tamara Hall show. So I went to New York, and that was a whirlwind in itself. It was just like a fun exchange. And then like 3 days later, I'm in New York. And all these spotlights, and it was beautiful because things happen fast. And sometimes we have this paralyzing fear to not finish that book, not start that book, not pivot and change to, a new job or a new, make that side hustle into the main hustle, right? To jump off that cliff. And I've learned that, if you allow, once again, that openness to just let the world guide you. I don't think I would have been 5 years ago. This wasn't the same me, right? I think I would have stopped. I would have self-sabotaged. I would have found so many different reasons why not to go. Recently, within last week, I was going to do promotion of the book in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And, we had a death in the family. And once again, it's like you have these moments, and I can either just keep going with what I have structured, my itinerary, life all planned out, or I can pivot and say, let me be open to how I can create moments here with my family, with going back to my mother's childhood home, with bringing, so it's all about embracing the change instead of resisting it. And that's what brings true resilience. So it's been quite the journey in just the beginning of 2024.
Congratulations, though.
Thanks.
Right? Embrace it, enjoy it.
I have a sleeping dog back here, so if you hear snoring.
I love it. I love it. So why so what is the difference between Josefina from 5 years ago and the Josefina now that took on the opportunity?
Oh, totally. 5 years ago, I come from the news industry, right? For me, I knew years, probably middle school, what I wanted to be, right? Had so much direction and vigor. So, I wanted to be a journalist. And, at age 17, I was already applying and had been working at the local daily newspaper, the Omaha World Herald, received a weekend position, was pitching stories and writing obituaries, right? So it's like I knew with a thought process what I was going to do. I was going to become a journalist, right? But the industry was changing. So from age 17 on up, I climbed the corporate ladder, I guess you could say, the newsroom ladder. And, I learned through that process that change is inevitable, right? Um, when I saw the industry changing and things moving more digital, I had to, say I can't live with regret. I jumped into a new role, more of a teaching journalism role at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. But once again, with structure, it had to look a certain way. It had to be, working with young people and teaching just the vigor of what journalism and ethics and principles was, right? Or were. And so all of a sudden, when COVID happened, I think that was pretty much the biggest change. Life was shook. I realized the 15-year relationship that I was in, it was toxic, and it wasn't beneficial for the children, and to continue. That was a very difficult moment. I was so used to working, right? I love work. It's that work ethic. It was the routine. I was used to a routine that I no longer had during that period of COVID. I was scared because all of a sudden now I'm a single mom of two trying to figure life out, and the surmountless amount of bills that were piling up. And it's like, what if I don't, all I've ever done was deal with words. What happens when these journalism jobs are no longer? What happens when if I don't, I didn't know what life would look like. And I think a lot of people had questioned, am I happy where I am?
Right.
And so that's when I really started to lean on not just my faith. Faith was huge, right? But it was also faith with action. And that's the biggest part. Faith is so fragile. It's more fragile than love, I say. Because love, you're going to love, you get angry, you're going to come back to that person, you're still going to have love, right? But so quickly, when it comes to us having faith in ourselves or faith in a job or faith, we a million negative things pop in our head. And so I was in that moment of this depression of what life was going to be because it no longer was. And I said to myself, I need to learn how to be open to new ideas. I need to be open to who I am now and not the identity I had constructed all of these years. And so in that, I had to be vulnerable to say, it is okay to try new things. Like, I was the media. So how hard really is it to tap back into my PR skill set and pull that toolbox out and start writing press releases, right? So I started to do that freelance work, to just to compensate the loss of the two incomes. And then it just blossomed in a way I had never expected to this year say, hey, I am officially, well, it was like September. I said, what am I going to do? Um, I could continue to have the full-time job, in the communication field, or I could bank on myself and build Lozafina. So 5 years ago, like I said, I didn't have that growth mindset. 5 years ago, I was stuck on paralyzing fear. And now I think with all of the challenges that have presented itself, they weren't challenges. They were opportunities for growth. When I
Mm.
started to shift my mindset to say, no, why would I prevent myself from growing? Why would I stop myself? And I would take little post-its and write down these little thoughts, little quotes. And that's where resilience and words came from. It started with lipstick. You are wonderful. I'm like, I'm not going to write an affirmation. Girl, you got this. Don't let anyone tell you you can't. That's what was written. You were beautiful. It was on with lipstick on my mirror for a long time. And then it was like post-its everywhere. My kids were starting to see this. And they're like, yeah, mom, humbly stunt on them. You got this, and it's just like it's me reminding myself. And one of my quotes in the book, those are the motivational insights, is once I remembered who I was, it was game over. Hands down, it was game over. Now I've got nothing else to lose. So why not try? But what is the old saying? Failure is but a try, or to try is, it's that
Yep.
concept of failure is but a try. You just try. And then, okay, so now you have a lesson learned. Now you know how to go about that in a different way. And so that's how 5 years ago, I would have never had this growth mentality that I do now to say, all right, we're going to pivot. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take that flight to New York, or we're going to go ahead and launch that book, or we're going to go ahead and say, you know what, here's an opportunity to go tour my mom's childhood neighborhood. And instead of just having oral histories, let my kids absorb the surroundings and have written histories, build legacy. So, yeah.
Powerful. One of the things that I work with leaders with all the time, especially when it comes to mindset. Mindset's such a dirty trick, isn't it? I mean, it can get you so stuck. And you talked to Mike from 2017. Well, I'm a completely different person at that point. I'm going, I don't, I was coming from the executive pastor world, and I'm like, I don't know anything else I can do. I've been a recording artist and a pastor my whole adult career. I don't know what else I can do. And so now fast forward, my journey of unlocking the mindset was like, okay, I'm going to hire a couple of really, really kick butt executive coaches, and I'm going to work on myself for a season, and kind of see what cracks, in this whole thing. But what I'm hearing from you is a couple of things. Number one is this framework that I work with leaders on. So what are your attempts? What are your influences? And what are your inputs? Those three specific things. And I think that we forget about, and the biggest mistake that I made, by the way, was influences, right? You are the sum average of the five loudest voices in your life, no matter what. No matter how you shake a stick at that. My biggest mistake was that I thought that I had to just deal with the hand that was given to me when it came to my influences. Oh, so you're going to work in a church, or you're going to be in this tribe. These are the people that are in your life. okay, well, the universe kind of chose those for you, so you just have to take what came to you, right? That's the biggest lie I think that I believed, and I don't think I'm alone on that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get stuck there.
And it's it's the challenge too. Like I love how we have specific dates, right? You could probably name the date, time you had that life epiphany, right? Because it's when you that mind shift, it totally rewires your whole brain and experience, right? I feel like a lot of people that I've worked with get stuck on this is the cards that I was dealt. This is how like this is what this is my outlook. Instead of saying, no, this is an opportunity. You're being challenged for a reason because this is where you grow, right? This is where you learn. This is where you determine that you are worth more, you demand more, you deserve more. And it's not selfish to want to have the opportunity to grow. If you want an opportunity to grow, then it's okay to put yourself out there and it's okay to look silly and kooky and fail and have these wild ideas. And you know what? Guess what? Maybe, just maybe, it'll take off and it is everything that you dreamt for, right? So then now keep dreaming for the unattainable, right? Keep going, keep pushing yourself. You deserve more. So I love hearing when people share their stories of, no, I'm built for more. I deserve more.
You are. You are. And you tried something new, which is so important, right? So it's that attempts. I believe that every leader, in order for them to move forward with anything, they have to be willing to try new things. Um, and then inputs. Like, what are you hearing? What are you believing? What are you listening to? Dear Lord. I mean, we can go all day long just about how um, about the noise that comes into our, heads gets us to think about things, and the things that we think about determine how we feel, and how we feel determines the decisions and the behaviors in our lives. So, so that's the Josefina train, right? So over the last 5 years, you've tried some new things, and
Oh,
you've shifted your crowd drastically,
oh
right?
yeah.
So good. Um, all right, so I got a couple questions here for you,
Sure.
because I want to unlock just the story of Lozafina, and because I remember when we were sitting there and you're going, because just even you tackling your personal brand,
Mhm.
because your name is Josephina Loza, and you're just like, and I remember that when I was looking at your domain, we were getting you loaded into our SEO system,
Right,
and you just kind of made a comment. You're like, see what I did there is like, I just flipped my name and combined it differently to create my own brand,
right.
so, um, could you delve in a little bit deeper into how your empathetic leadership style and not only improved your team morale, but also the quality of the work of your projects?
Absolutely. Everything that I do with intention. I try to be an intentional leader. I try to be an empathetic leader. I oftentimes it, I go back to thinking of, school teachers that have many different, students who have different learning styles, right? So as a leader, I have to know that common sense, right? Context clues. Not everyone's going to learn the same way. Let me push pause on what I'm doing and get to know this person a little better, right? So we talk about hiring right the first time. There's certain questions that you can ask as a leader, right? To understand perhaps where someone has potential to grow, but just maybe not asking because they don't know how to ask. Maybe someone's struggling with their own personal life situation, right? We live complex lives. Maybe something's getting in the way of their productivity. So, there's certain things that I would do to especially learn from, my employees. I don't even like to call my employees. I like to call them my teammates because that's what they are. I'm in the trenches with them. We're doing this together. We're like, it's a tribe of us. So, everything that we do, we try to focus on if we're in the field of communication, we better know how to communicate with one another. And so I just had, an instance where one of my first employees that came on board with me had, a problem with, payroll, right? The old person would have not, the old her would have not said anything and she would have just let it go. It's like, oh, that was just a glitch or a mistake, right? But instead, she said, hey, I just wanted to bring something to your attention, right? And I said, oh, what's going on? Because we have weekly meetings. I meet at least 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the time that each employee schedules with me, each partner, each teammate. And then I allowed them that space as they allow me that space to meet them where they're at and just go over whatever is going on in their world, right? And that goes again to context clues for me to learn that things are happening and things are shifting, or they have questions, or they don't understand. And sometimes it's like, no, we're good. We don't need a meeting. Okay, well then, let's just have coffee together. What's new? Like tell me what's in, because I
I
still
love
want
that.
them to meet. That right there, it's the communication allowed that employee who would never have spoken up to say, hey, there was this glitch that happened. So there's things as leaders that we can be doing, at least providing environments for those that we work with to feel as though they have a say, that's the buy-in, that they're committed to the success of what you're building because you understand that they're right there with you building it. And I feel like that's a dynamic thing to see spark when you notice that there's professional and personal growth happening among the people that you work with because they're taking those moments that you see their evolution. And it's so cool. I said to her today when I talked to her, I am so proud of you for doing that, for, bringing that to my attention. And now when there's a larger problem, not that pays a glitch in play is a problem, right? But now if there was some big mistake or something happened or a difficult question or whatever, I know that she's going to feel a little bit more at ease to raise it instead of, letting situations go without saying anything at all, which causes problems.
I, I love that. And I think the reason why this is so important is that when it comes to culture, culture has way more to do with your internal communication cadences and your priorities than it actually has to do with your marketing programs.
Mm-hmm.
It's but one of them is a lot more sexy to chase than the other. And so for example, like in 2021, organizations globally spent or not even globally, just in the United States, spent $289 billion on external marketing strategies. In comparison, they only spent 1% of that to try to improve their communication and their culture internally within their organizations. So it definitely shows kind of where the priority is, right? One's a short game play and one's a long-term play. But for you, that moment when the employee reaches out to you and says, "Hey, listen, I don't really have anything to meet about," and then you reach back out and go, "Great, let's grab coffee."
Right?
That's it, right? That's it. Because we in our team's methodology, like when we actually get clients into their cadence, okay,
Right.
defining what their targets is. Let's talk about your engagements, the three levels. How are you engaging with yourself as a leader? Because it all starts with you. How are you engaging with your team? And then how are you engaging with your crowd? Right. And you just nailed that part. It's the part in the Oreo cookie. It's the good stuff in the middle that holds everything together. It literally is that thing that says, okay, how are you engaging with your people? How are you engaging with your tribe?
Right.
It's not about it's not about checklists. It's
No,
not.
we're
It's
humans.
absolutely. It's about great. Like I'm glad you don't have anything to meet with me about, but I see something in you. Let's grab coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.
It falls to the human connection. If we can just slow things down, I always tell people, don't tell me, hey, how's it going? Or how are you? And ask and keep passing me in the hall or wherever. Like, no, if you ask, get to know. I had a wonderful day, let me tell you. And maybe it's a little spark when you ask someone, how are you? Yeah, I feel like we do this in conversation and passing. Hey, how's it going? And you keep moving. Maybe that person was really having a bad day and they just needed a moment to just vent a little, and that you were that listening ear to be that, those are those little things, that I think make a big difference in how you build, culture, community, and it goes back to a person that feels heard, right? A person that feels heard and feels that they are contributing to what you're building is going to be a person that is going to provide loyalty in a company, and want to give you dedicated hours and wants to give you excellence and wants to. It is so amazing what happens when someone feels valued, right? But then, it's not always about, hey, I need you to get X, Y, and Z on deadline by yada, yada, yada. That's important too. But now when I ask, hey, I'm on a tight deadline and I need X, Y, and Z, that person's like, sure, I've got you. And they do it with pride because they also know what they're contributing to. So internal communications and figuring out and taking the time to have processes that, encouraging the middle management and encouraging executive leaders to truly model this.
Hmm.
It's important. We should be doing it and not saying it. We should be having meetings where people feel that they can let their hair down and they get to know you. I mean, that's when they feel a part of a community. So,
There's so many things that I want to contribute to that thing that you just said.
we have so much to do. Look, 2 hours later.
Yeah, 2 hours later. Well, because it doesn't work like not every environment that you're in within corporate space allows you to be able to have the freedom to be able to create that type of cadence or culture. But there's things like you'll hear me say this a lot, this idea of employees happen. I
Right.
want you to think about that, right? Because there's nothing more painful to me than for me to be desiring to want to work with a leader like you, and for me to feel like I'm being invited into something, to do something with someone, for us to accomplish something together, only to find out that I'm an employee. Oh man, like can you feel the disappointment in the heart of that person, right? When all of a
Right.
sudden you realize that you went from feeling like you're going to be a part of a transaction or a transformational relationship to
Right.
finding out that you're a commodity. Oh, an ends to a means. And so the fact that you're able to create a culture that you can see past that, um, like that's transformational.
Something that an executive here goes to modeling, right? That the newspaper that I was working at, so I had a just tremendous amount of employees, right? And the executive editor did something that I found so profound. There are some that say, okay, the executive editor wants to get to know you. We have an open door policy, right? Anyone can feel, they can walk in. I always walked in. You said I have an open door policy. I'll take a seat. Here, I'm here, you know? And not everyone's that way, right? But something that he genuinely did that I thought was so cool is that if he didn't have a lunch meeting, he always just ate in the break room and he would invite people to sit with him. So that way he got an opportunity to just be among everyone and have lunch and just the conversations. It was so dynamic. If you saw an open seat, you wanted to, his employees would gravitate to him just to sit at that open seat wherever it was. And it was where, titles didn't matter. We were just everyday people. here, he has hundreds of employees, but he made it a point that when he didn't have his lunch meeting, he was right there among everyone else. How cool. So modeling is huge. And then knowing that you may not get to everyone. Nobody wants to feel like a transaction. But if you create an environment where you are among everyone else and you are seen among everyone else, then it normalizes that experience and exchange.
So good. So good. All right, I'm going to change up I'm going to change up the
Sure.
pace here. We're getting a little bit wild and crazy. You ready for this?
Now go for it.
All right. So we play a little bit of a game called this or that because
Oh, this or that. Okay.
this or that. Um, I want our people to get to know just the quirkiness of Lozafina. So anyway, so morning walk, or I'm sorry, morning run or evening walk.
Oh, I love sunset, evening walk. I like to sip coffee though. So in the mornings and watch the sunrise. So when I get to see the sunset, it's a wind down to let my brain just kind of process things as an evening walk.
Coffee or tea?
So normally I would start my day with coffee, but now I'm switching to tea. And I'm finding that the benefits of drinking tea are so amazing as well. So, man, you can't. I'm a coffee girl at heart. So today, when I had tea and didn't feel like I missed my coffee, I know that I'm giving them equal chances.
Book reading or podcast listening?
Oh, that's difficult. Now that's not nice. That's not nice. How about I will say I have become more audio because I move around so much. It's nice to be able to listen to an audiobook. Therefore, I often turn to podcast listening. It just really depends on my mood. I would say book reading, pulling out a traditional book, that is such a luxurious treat for me. So if I'm reading from a physical book, that means I've created a space of downtime, vacation time to flip through the pages. Otherwise, it's on the go podcast listening.
All right.
Not fair. That was not nice.
All right. Last question here. So planning ahead or living in the moment?
Living in the moment. I used to be a planner. Um, it's down to the point where it is okay to have a loose itinerary. It is okay to say you're going to road trip and you're going to have an idea of where you might want to stop and stay, but you're going to take things as they are. And, life has to be lived in the moment because we don't allow ourselves. I feel like everything is, I'm an organizer, right? And but I do it task by task. And that's the entire point of resilience in words is task by task, right? But I also have to allow myself the flexibility to live in the moment and not be so structured that I'm missing opportunities.
I love that. I love that. So you mentioned resilience in words.
Mhm.
So tell us more about it and what readers and listeners can expect.
So, resilience in words provides a wonderful system of, you know, food for thought, is what I would call it. It's very fruitful to have a daily insight that you read. And then the system itself is how to take seven tasks and be able to complete them. I was the person who would get overwhelmed because I have so much to do. And instead of looking at big projects and saying, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z, I would break them down to palatable items to say, like, look, I have to have these tasks be so ridiculously easy to do that it'd be ridiculous not to do. Meaning, if I have a business proposal that I'm writing or drafting, I have to know, like, okay, I'm going to break it down to just this area, just this section, so then I can multitask and get to other things. Maybe for someone, it is going to the gym. Okay, well, maybe your task is so ridiculously easy, as in, I'm going to have a trigger. I'm going to have my shoes by the door. So every time I see those shoes by the door when I walk by and I've not put them on, or I do see them, it triggers me to put them on to go to the gym or to go take that walk. So that's what we encourage with our tasks. And then journaling. I am a writer by trade, but there are very few moments when we allow ourselves to sit in silence with ourselves. And that's what I want to train, others to do. That's what has been so beneficial, whether it's meditating or journaling, but it's that reflection. It's this process of being able to say, okay, not what did I do wrong, but instead maybe allow yourself to say, hey, if I could do it differently, what would I do? Right? Or maybe there was something that happened extremely well. Allow yourself the time to say, okay, what was it about my choices that made this go so wonderfully well? Allowing ourselves to declutter our brain. We have a note section too, and we call it our junk drawer. Because sometimes as you go about your day, you just need to get it out of your brain and just place it somewhere. I like traditional book format. I know, I can plan, and my admin, bless her heart, plays Tetris with my schedule. But what it is I carry my resilience in words with me, the book, because I can actually flip back to and see my growth. I can read back. Whereas if I'm just planning stuff to plan it or just focusing on the task, it doesn't allow me necessarily to see the growth as it's happening. So that's what brought along the conversation of having other like-minded people get together to have, a forum to be able to talk, to share, to walk through things that they're going through. And it's hard, especially for young, new executives that are maybe going and, entering C-suite, and they don't know etiquette, or they don't know certain things that need to be done, or maybe there's someone who's asking something of them and they're afraid to say. So it just, having that community, also allowing, each other to share, moments of failure, moments of challenges, moments of wait, this wasn't a challenge. This was my growth, and this is how I shifted. It's not talking about just because I would always hate books like that, especially like coaching books or executive like leadership books or success story books or anything where they say, okay, I had a terrible childhood, or I had this X, Y, and Z, or I had a problem with, time management. And then all of a sudden here I'm doing X. I want to know how to apply it. Like, what was it that was that moment? Walk me through how you triple booked yourself, and why you had to say, I can't do it alone. And, I needed to hire that admin to be there to assist me and know that I will say yes to a lot of people for her to say, you're people pleasing right now. No. They can wait their turn for you. It's interesting to be able to have other leaders share that wealth of knowledge. And that's what the community is about. I feel like that's what your community is much like. And that's why I'm enjoying your community so much and reading through, you have your podcast, but you also have that group that I think is so phenomenal. And just hearing from others and how they've connected, that's that culture, that's that community that I live off of. That it's like it provides so much a source of power and strength, is knowing that it's okay that I don't have everything perfectly mapped, but I can lean on others for their experience to say, we're going to get through it.
I love it. And it's powerful. So if people wanted to be able to get a copy of Resilience in Words, where would they be able to find it?
Well, Amazon is and my website. So my website's lozafina.com, LOZAFINA.com, in our shop. But there's also Amazon. If you were to search Resilience in Words and my name, Josephina Loza, it'll pop right up. It's so wonderful. Bezos taking care of me.
At least he's taking care of you. So
That's right.
You must be high up on the list there, Josefina. So, man, thank you so much for making time to be on the podcast. This has got to be like a part one. I didn't even get to all the questions I wanted to ask you, but as typical fashion so far, we rabbit trailed and found some really good nuggets of gold in all of this. So you're brilliant, and I just want to encourage you. You bring so much hope and light and guidance for so many people. And one of the things that for me as an executive coach, I've been coaching leaders with the Lincoln Journal Star and bigger local businesses, and I love working with strong, wise women in leadership because I'm a dad and I have two amazing daughters, Chloe and Amelia, and for this season of my life, I wanted to make sure that they saw what it looks like to see women win. And I'm super pumped. Like my oldest daughter, she's graduating from high school this year, and she's already been accepted into UND. She's going to be into the commercial aviation program. And
Wow,
like,
congratulations.
yeah, I love that we've surrounded ourselves with people who are daring risk takers and daring dreamers, who are willing to put things in play. And thank you for being one of those people. You're an inspiration, and I'm excited to work with you more as well. So with all that, now to our listeners, thank you for tuning into the Level Up Leader podcast. If Josefina's message resonated with you, I encourage you to check out Resilience in Words, both the podcast and the book. It's a resource filled with insights, strategies, and inspiration for anyone looking to overcome adversity and pursue your goals with determination. I'm Michael King, reminding you that leadership is about empathy, resilience, and the courage to pursue your dreams. Keep striving, keep learning, and remember, the journey towards greatness begins with one single step. So join us next time as we continue to explore the stories of leaders who dare to make a difference. Until then, stay inspired. Now, Josefina, any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
I would say you are your own best expert. So always, always, always invest in yourself.
I love that. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.